Now coming on the show, we have former Premier League winger and England international Matt Jarvis. How's it going, Matt?
Very well, thank you. Yeah.
Of course. Well, I really appreciate you doing this, and I'm excited to take a look at your career and get some insight on being a professional footballer at the top level for such a long time. So you've played for Gillingham, Wolves, West Ham, Norwich, Walsall, and now Woking in the National League. So, let's just start from the top. You started off playing for Gillingham in the youth team and eventually made your professional debut for them on November 4th, 2003, at the age of 17. Do you remember a little bit about what your professional debut felt like? Were you, what were your feelings at that time? Were you nervous, ready? How did you feel then?
Yeah, I mean, a very special time. My family were there because you sort of, when you get told you're in the squad, obviously you're wanting everyone to come to the game because as an attacking player, there's more likely that you're going to get on rather than a defender. So I had an inkling that I'm hoping to get on in the game, especially because it was against Sunderland, who are one of the best teams in the league. So you're thinking that there's going to be an opportunity that we might need to get a goal.
Right.
So it was just an amazing feeling. They were, as I said, such a good team. They had Stuart Downing and Julio Arca on the left. It's the only time that I've ever seen Nara Norsworthy have a bit of trouble, really, because them two were flying down the side. And so in the second half, I got my opportunity to come on in the game, and it was a really, really good sort of learning curve for me, because it is a massive step up from playing reserve team and youth team football to come on into a first team game, but especially against the top side like Sunderland. So it was really good to come into a game where we were under the cosh a little bit and sort of thrown in at the deep end, as it were. But it was brilliant, and I wouldn't have changed any of it.
Oh, that's amazing. So, you seem to have made an impact in that first appearance. Your next senior appearance wasn't until a couple months later in the FA Cup against Burnley. And then you started to feature a little bit more regularly in March and April, making 2 starts and 8 substitute appearances before signing your first professional contract. How long would you say it took you to adapt to professional football after playing in the youth team for, a good majority of your time?
Yeah, it's definitely different because the intensity, the physical side, obviously the games they're coming thick and fast, and that you're coming up against top championship teams. So there's a lot of experienced players in there. So it takes a little bit of time to find your feet. But as a youngster playing, you've got no fear at that age. So you're, especially in a wide area like me, I'm just getting the ball, I'm just taking people on and enjoying myself. And it's only sort of when people start kicking you up in the air a few times, and then you're like,
Yep.
oh, okay, like, what's going on here? People don't like it. So, but I had a really good people around me in the squad that that would give me helpful hints and tips and sort of look after me in games as well, because I was that player that tried to take people on and used to get kicked up in the air a fair few times. So they were all sort of with me. So it was a really good squad of players and really enjoyable to be. But it does take time to adapt. To your question, it does, because it is a completely different sort of type of game. The physicality and it's just the importance. I think there's points riding on it, and if you don't get the points, it's a massive. It's not like a youth team game. If you don't win, it doesn't matter really. There's always something riding on the game, and that's a bit of pressure then, and it's you've got to be able to perform at that level. So it's a good eye opener, and it's a really good something that you want to keep feeling, that pressure of going onto the pitch and people expecting you to perform.
Well, while at Gillingham, you, like I said, started to make a name for yourself. The following season in 2004-2005, you played in 30 games and scored your first professional goal against Wolves, which is pretty ironic considering that was the team you signed for after Gillingham. But do you remember that goal at all and what it felt like to you?
Yeah, I do. You always sort of remember the first goal. at the time, Gillingham, we were struggling. We needed a result because we were on a bit of a bad run. And so I remember we went down to 10 men quite early in the game as well. So it was a huge, huge win. And obviously, scoring my first goal was just amazing. As soon as I scored, I jumped on Mama Sidibe, who was the striker that was playing in our team, and he's like 7 foot tall, and you see me just jumping on him. It's quite a picture, but it was really important. And it was a bit of a scrappy goal, but they all count. And
Right.
that particular game after that Dave Jones, the Wolves manager, got the sack, and I know this because I get reminded of it when I first signed at Wolves, that they were like, you when you scored, that was the game that you got the sack. So I was like, oh,
Awkward.
sorry.
Yeah, Sidibe, did he end up signing for Stoke later
Yeah.
on? Yeah, that's right. Okay. Yeah, he is a big guy.
Certainly is, yeah.
So unfortunately, you guys got relegated that season after finishing in 22nd, going down on goal difference to Crewe Alexandria by 1 goal. And the season before that, in 2003, 2004, you guys survived by a goal difference of 1 goal. So you kind of experienced both sides of it. But why would you say you guys weren't successful those 2 seasons, particularly in 2004, 2005 when you got relegated?
Yeah, I think it's very difficult to sort of pin everything on one sort of thing, but obviously Gillingham, the budget was nowhere near the same as the other clubs. I think we had a very good, experienced squad of players, which everyone was fighting for a survival every single game. Everyone gave everything. It's just sometimes I think the Championship at that time was full of very, very strong teams that a lot of them had just come down and were trying to bounce back up. So it was a difficult league to stay in, and I just think unfortunately we just didn't have enough that particular season. And when you're on a run of losing games, it's a struggle to try and really turn that around and get some momentum. But we just didn't just couldn't do it, because that last game we needed to win and we drew, and obviously got relegated. So it was a very strange feeling, obviously massive disappointment, but a strange sort of feeling to have when you're a young kid.
Right. Well, those following 2 seasons in League One, you were arguably the best player on Gillingham. In 2005, 2006, you made 41 total appearances and scored 7 goals. And the club obviously realized how important you were, because halfway through the following season, in 2006, 2007, you were offered a new contract, which was described as the most lucrative offer in the club's history for a player your age. But
yeah, for a player my age, yeah.
But at this time, you were getting interest from Championship and Premier League clubs, after being named in the PFA's League One Team of the Year. That certainly sparked more interest from teams. Did you feel like it was time to move on? Did you realize, you deserved to play on a better team and at a higher level?
Yeah, in truth, yeah. I felt like I played really well in the Championship, and then obviously got relegated, and I did 2 seasons in League One, was in Team of the Year, had Player of the Year, and obviously there was a lot of interest. And for me personally, it was nothing against the club, because I still have really, they're amazing supporters. I still have a massive affiliation with them now. It's a great club. I just felt like for me, I needed to move on, to improve, and obviously every player just wants to play at the highest level they possibly can, and I just felt that was my only sort of chance to sort of move on. So that's why I didn't sign a new contract.
And do you remember at this time all of the clubs that were interested in you? I mean, I saw a couple, like Plymouth Argyle, Nottingham Forest, Charlton. And what made you choose Wolves at the end of the day?
What made me choose Wolves was I flew out with my agent to Portugal and met Mick McCarthy, and as soon as I met him, that was it. I was only ever signing at Wolves. He was just such a brilliant manager, so sort of honest. Just told you exactly what he thought, what he wanted of me, why he wanted to sign me and what I would expect from him and about the club and what he was going to be building at the club. And for me, as soon as I spoke to him, it was, nothing else sort of mattered. That was where I wanted to go. And it was done sort of so quickly. I hadn't even gone up to the stadium to look at anything yet. I was just, come back, agreed. And then once it was all agreed, I went up to the stadium, had a quick look around and signed there and then. And funny enough, then went on the plane with the club secretary to Marbella. We were on the same flight because I went and met my mates.
Wow. Well, you debuted on October 20th against Charlton in the 88th minute, a little cameo appearance. And I mean, after that, it seemed like you quickly became a first choice player, making an additional 27 appearances that season. And that first season you played for Wolves, you guys barely missed out on a playoff spot. Finishing
One goal. Yeah, it's painful.
Yeah, finishing in 7th by, again, goal difference of 1 goal. And that season, West Brom and Stoke, I believe, gained automatic promotion. And I just wanted to ask real quick, just on the topic of Stoke. I mean, that season, they scored 8 times from Rory Delap's long throw-in. And I just wanted to, kind of, like, what was that like playing against Stoke under Tony Pulis? I feel like there were so many things that they did that threw teams off, like the long throw. I mean, every player is 6'3", 6'4".
It was very difficult. Well, everyone says it's sort of a joke, isn't it? You go and play on a cold, wet Tuesday night up in Stoke? It was one of them. The stadium, all 4 sides were open, so it was so windy. It was freezing cold, and obviously the way they played was very difficult. The throw-in, I mean, Rory Delap's throw-in was like a thunderbolt coming straight at the heart of the goal. So it's like having someone having a free kick from the edge of the box all the time. It was incredible, but it's a very tough place to go. But that's where you learn how to play the other side of the game.
Oh yeah. And how would you guys prepare to play them? Like, would y'all take a lot of time to prepare for that throw-in?
Yeah, I mean, over the years, it's I've played there many, many times. So different managers prepare different times. Some are trying not to kick it out for a throw-in. You'd rather kick it out for a goal kick, for a corner. Sorry,
ridiculous.
It's just incredible. But it was a really, really tough place to go. I mean, especially under Tony Pulis, and the players that they had were sort of so well drilled in the way that they play. It was really difficult.
Well, the following season in 2008-2009, you guys won the championship and were promoted to the Premiership. You once again played a vital role in that team, making 29 appearances. What do you think was so vital in that team's success that season? I mean, you guys played some really good football during that period.
Yeah, I mean, as far as enjoyment goes, I'd have to say that season was probably my most enjoyable. It was just, I mean, when you're winning, week in, week out, it doesn't what's not to like. And then obviously winning the league and gaining promotion to the Premier League, it was absolutely incredible. But to answer your question, I think it was the team spirit and the manager and the coaches and all of the staff. The whole unit was just so close. Players, we were sort of, most of us were all sort of similar ages, never played in the Premier League. We were all hungry to improve and to get as high as possible. And then we had like the likes of some like experienced players like Jody Craddock, who was the ultimate pro, and really helped a lot of us younger players to sort of understand what it was, in different games and training. And it just worked. And everyone sort of just, if you didn't play, you were still wanting the team to win. You were cheering everyone on. It wasn't like some places you don't quite want the team to do as well because you want to play if you're on the bench. But it was never like that. It was just an unbelievable team and squad, and we felt like from the season before, obviously losing out, we had that mindset that we weren't having that. And even straight from pre-season, you could tell we were, this is it, this season we were going to hit the ground running. And once you start riding that wave, you just want to keep going as long as you can. And that's what we did. And that's what I mean about, Mick McCarthy. He was fantastic. And his staff that he had were, the way that they worked together was huge, and they had a massive role in my development as a player.
Well, that first season in the Premier League is actually when I really became interested in Wolves because of you. Smaller guy like myself, flying down the wing, whipping crosses in, taking guys on. You were a big reason why I consistently tried to watch Wolves from that season. And similarly, when you went to West Ham, it was the same thing. I started to follow West Ham, and we'll hit on that, in a little bit. I mean, I just really liked that Wolves team. I mean, Mick McCarthy, the players, you and Michael Kitely on the wings, Kevin Doyle and Ebanks Blank spearheading the attack, Carl Henry bolstering the midfield. I just, like, how much fun was it to play with those guys?
Brilliant. The thing that we had is everyone knew the roles on the pitch. Everyone knew where everyone was supposed to be, was going to be. It just worked. It would just it was very free flowing, especially in the promotion season. We were 4-4-2, get it wide, get on the crosses. It was so just enjoyable to play with. Obviously, in the Premier League, you've got to adapt. You can't play that open football because you get punished.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as a squad, we had to improve, and we did. I think that's the biggest compliment I can pay the management and the all the players, to be honest, that we all had to improve, and we all did, and we all knuckled down, and we learned a lot about ourselves and how we needed to, as individuals, and get better, and that all helped the team.
And do you think that you guys had to change the way you played a good bit after getting promoted to the Premier League?
Yeah, I think so. We could, like I said, you couldn't do that expansive football because you would get punished. So we sort of changed to a 4-5-1 sort of system, where we had the lone striker, which was Kevin Doyle, and he did that incredibly well. He gets maybe a bit of stick for not scoring as many goals, but what he did for the team was never ever in question for the rest of the players, because in a lot of things, you're playing against top teams. You're all in fully international players in the Premier League, so you could come under a lot of pressure, and that's why we needed the extra player in midfield to sort of try and get hold of the ball. And then when we needed to just get it up the field, he was able to sort of hold it up, and then us players can get up and support him, and it was vital. And it was a big change in system, but at the same time, I think for me personally, it was brilliant. I loved that role because it meant that I could sort of get as much attacking as I possibly could. But don't get me wrong, I had to get back. But you always had that little bit of protection by an extra man in midfield.
Right. Well, you guys finished in 15th that first season, which wasn't great, but it was the first time Wolves had avoided relegation from the top flight since 1981, which was a massive accomplishment for the club. And I mean, were you guys okay with that, avoiding relegation? I mean, did you guys have higher hopes to finish higher up in the table?
No, not at all. I think successful in the from being promoted to the Premier League is staying there. That's the ultimate goal, and we did that in 15th. That's not bad. It's we just like I said, you needed to stay in the Premier League, and we did that, and that was the first goal of pre-season. You've got to stay in the league, and we did it. So it was a huge success for us.
Right. Well, you continue to improve. And in 2010, 2011, you played in every single game that season with 41 total appearances. You won the fans player of the season as well as the players player of the season, which proves just how important you were in that team. But in that 2010, 2011 season, you guys finished in 17th. And how stressful was that final day?
Well, it changed about 10 times during the game. It was a real peculiar game. Lots of nerves, lots of I don't know. There's so much riding on it. We had to stay in the league. I mean, financially for the club, there'll be staff that have to lose their job. There's lots of things that sort of get played on your mind when you're going into that game, but ultimately, at the end of it, you're you're hearing the noises in the crowd. Someone scored. We need to score. We score. Everyone's like, oh, we need to score another one. Yeah. And then obviously Hunty to score in the last sort of few minutes to keep us up was amazing. You know, the especially being at home and the atmosphere, and everyone was just delighted.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to feel. I mean, it's got to feel like you've won the league.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we didn't get the trophy at the end of it, but yeah, it was like that. It was. You know, it was just again a huge success. You know, staying in the Premier League for another season. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's the club. That's all they want. You know, you need to stay in the Premier League. You need to do that.
Mm-hmm. And who would you say, you know, after your first couple seasons in the league, who was the? I know there's obviously a lot of top teams in the Premier League, but who was the one where every time you guys were playing them, you and the team where you knew that it was about to be a battle?
A battle, or I mean, the biggest. I remember one of the first sort of games. No, not the first, but one of the games we played Chelsea away at Stamford Bridge, and I remember they just signed. So they had Mata, they had Hazard, they had William. I think it was Hazard, but they had Oscar as well. And I remember, and Ashley Cole. They were all sort of in that area, and I remember trying to go and press one of them, and they would ping and spin, and they were so sharp. It was like, wow, how are you supposed to get close to these people? And I always said from day one, like I still think like one of the sharpest players is William. He was so sharp. You knew what he was going to do. He was going to do that fake right, go with the right, and then just go to the right. You couldn't get anywhere near him. He was that quick. So I mean, I remember that game. I think we lost 3 or 4-0, but it was a massive eye opener to see how quick these players were.
And what was it like? I mean, growing up a Man United fan, what was it like playing at Old Trafford?
Yeah, brilliant. I think amazing. You know, to walk out a theatre of dreams, and you know, I seem to remember we always used to play sort of. It was around Christmas time, and I have to say the pitch was never as nice as I thought it was going to be, but it was obviously still nice. And I've always, for whatever reason, you sort of when you go to different stadiums, you have some that you play really well at all the time. That was one of mine. I got man of the match there. I had to go up and see all of the directors in the Man United thing. I got a big bottle of champagne with a Man United sticker on, so I've kept that. But yeah, it was just an amazing stadium. There's so much history, so much, just amazing. Especially being a sort of a United fan growing up. But as I said, like now, you know, you're still a United fan, but it's not the same, because when you're playing, once you cross the line, it doesn't matter who it is. You're trying to get as many points as you can for your team, and you don't think about anything else. But it was obviously it's lovely to go and play there, and yeah, it's an incredible stadium. So yeah, very nice.
Yeah, I've been once myself. I think in 2013. It's such an incredible place. I think they played Tottenham when they had Bale, but it was such an incredible stadium. And I hear that the stadium's a little bit more open and that you have a little bit more time on the ball. Is that true?
Yeah, but I think that's the Premier League in general. I think that's the biggest difference from the Championship to the Premier League. If this makes sense, you know, in the Championship you get less time on the ball, but it's easier to do something with it. When you're in the Premier League, you get more time on the ball, but it's harder to do anything. You know, players they give you the respect, they'll stand off, but you can't break anyone down. You can't get around people because it's just they make it a lot harder. That's the bit, and you just get punished. In the Championship, you may have someone have 3 chances and you might get away with it. You get 3 chances, you're going to lose 2 goals in the Premier League.
Right.
So it's one of them.
Mm-hmm. Well, you were on fire that season in 2010-11 and were deservedly called up to the national team in March of 2011, making an appearance against Ghana in a 1-1 draw. You were the first Wolves player to play for England since Steve Bull in 1990. 21 long years. How special of a moment was that for you, getting called up to play for your country?
Absolutely amazing. Yeah, it's a dream come true as a kid. That is the ultimate dream. So for it to come true was just amazing. And I'm very lucky that my game was at Wembley. I could have been anywhere in the world, but it was
Right.
at Wembley, in front of 85,000 fans. All my friends and family were there. Every like Gills fans, Wolves fans, West Ham fans, they all say, "Oh, I was at that game." So I'm very lucky that that was my game at Wembley, and it's amazing. Absolute dreams come true moment. You get the tingles. Just feeling, playing for your country. It was just amazing.
I mean, that's got to be the ultimate dream as a footballer, representing your country.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. It is. It's the pinnacle.
Mm-hmm.
And I can say that I've done it. So I'm absolutely delighted.
That is, I mean, it's so incredible. And was that the first time you had played at Wembley?
Yeah, it was first and only time.
Mm-hmm. Because 'cause I was thinking because you guys earned automatic promotion out of the championships, you didn't have to play there in the playoffs.
No, we were on
Um,
holiday.
so then that following season in 2011-12, you guys were relegated after finishing bottom of the table, winning just one of the final 24 games. Did you think it was the correct decision to sack Mick McCarthy in February of that year?
No, no. I can obviously understand why. Results weren't good enough, but he was the best. He was the best manager there, best manager by far. And he never lost the dressing room at all. I do really feel like maybe it wouldn't have been completely different, but he definitely still had that aura and presence about him that the players wanted to work for him. But in the saying that, Terry Connor, who took over, I think it was like the last 13 games, I scored 7 goals in the 13 games. So it was like for me, I think you're sort of looking like you've got to try and do as much as you possibly can. I know it's sort of too little, too late, I suppose, but it wasn't for the lack of trying for the rest of the season. It was
Right.
just that's the way it was, and that's why 7 goals in the last 13 games basically got me a move back to the Premier League.
Why do you think that you started scoring once Mick McCarthy was sacked?
I don't know. I'd scored a few before that, but
Right.
I don't know. I don't know. The rhythm was just there. I scored one, I scored another one. It was, it's difficult to put one sort of finger on it,
Mm-hmm.
but it was just, because we weren't, obviously, we still weren't winning games.
Right.
I just scored in them games that unfortunately we didn't pick up points from. But for me, it was important to keep playing at the highest possible standard,
Right.
and obviously that's the reason why I got my move.
And how would you describe Mick McCarthy's style of play? How did he want you guys to play?
Well, I think realistically, being in the Premier League, it was try and stay in games as often as you possibly can. But like the front three, it was sort of me, Doyle, and if Kites was playing, to try and go and influence the game and try and do as much as you possibly could, and always have that second midfielder to try and get in the box. It wasn't like let's all sit behind the ball and just get a 0-0. He wanted us to attack, and but we had we had a plan. Every player knew exactly what their role in the team was. We all worked back. We all had to defend, but we all needed to get forward, and we all needed to chip in with goals because that's how you would be successful as a team.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, you were certainly the bright light in that dark season, making 39 appearances and scoring 8 goals, which was the most you've scored in a season in your career. I mean, Wolves obviously keen to hang on to you, and I don't blame them. I saw they rejected multiple bids from West Ham before they finally agreed on a £10.75 million offer. And did you have any other interests from clubs at this time before you accepted an offer from West Ham?
Yeah, there was interest from clubs, but I suppose once a couple of the bids that got rejected, I think clubs were then sort of like, we don't want to pay any more than that. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where, you know, um, West Ham were the ones to eventually get it over the line.
Right. Well, once, like I said earlier, once you went to West Ham, I started to follow them, and I really liked that West Ham squad under Sam Allardyce. You know, Kevin Nolan, Mark Noble, Carlton Cole, Andy Carroll. I still watch highlights of that team to this day, and I bought this jersey before the 2013-14 season. I bought this one, and I couldn't find one with your name on the back, so I just got a regular one.
That's all right. They must have been sold out, I'm sure.
Oh, for sure. And you made 90 appearances for the Hammers between 2012 and 2016. Incredible. Scored 6 goals. How would you describe your experience while at West Ham?
Well, I think, start with going there as a record signing, there was a huge sort of amount of pressure to come with that, and the club is such a huge club. I don't think you fully appreciate how big it is until you're there. It's it's in London. The amount of media, press, everything around it heightens that. But for me, the season that I left Wolves and the first season at West Ham, I'd put in the most crosses in Europe, and I'd put in the most successful crosses in Europe both seasons. So I can class that for me as a successful finish and start to my Wolves and West Ham career. And it was great, as you said. The names you mentioned there, what great characters they are. It was just such a brilliant sort of squad, and really sort of an enjoyable. And Andy being up top was perfect for me. We didn't get to play as much as we would have liked together, but it was. He had his thing, just hang it up in the box. So if I could get a yard, I'd just hang it up, and he would just be like a battering ram and come and smash everything into the back of the net. It was just incredible the amount of power he could get from a header. But the other players, Kevin Nolan, what a guy, what a captain, what a goal scorer, always in the right place at the right time. And he was a really, really good guy to sort of have in the change room as well, and obviously helped me as well settling in. So top squad.
Right. And Andy Carroll's heading, he's got to be, do you think he is the best header of the ball to ever?
Oh, that's a big stat. I think he's just got that timing. A lot of centre halves have that timing where they, it comes up and they just connect and it just goes off them and just. But he was just, like I said, he was like a battering ram, but he was so good at it, and he had great feet as well. People I think it's very underrated. I think people don't give him as much credit as he deserves with his feet, but in the air, there's no one that could get near him.
And it's funny you said that Kevin Nolan was always in the right place at the right time. I feel like so many of his goals were just 1 foot tap ins because he was just right there. I don't know how he managed to do it.
Hey, it's a skill. It's
an
art, because I wasn't like that. I wish I was. They're really much easier goals than what I scored.
Yeah, it was. There's a video. West Ham released a video pretty recently of all of his goals, and I almost more than half are just falls to him and he taps it in. It's amazing to watch.
Like I said, it's a skill.
Right. And people say, "Oh, it's just a tap," and I could do that. It's like you have to be there.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about timing, instinct, and it doesn't happen by chance.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah. If it was so easy, everyone would do it.
Exactly.
So how did you like playing for Big Sam? And in contrast to Mick McCarthy, how did he want you guys to play? I mean, it seemed like the plan kind of revolved around knocking it up to your big strikers, Andy Carroll, Carlton Cole, Maiga, and just getting it in the box.
Yeah, I think ultimately he was more about I don't know, he was an old school manager, but had such the new sort of technology, thinking about statistics, about GPS, about everything like that. He was the first sort of manager to start sort of bringing that in. So he had a real contrast of old and new. But the way he wanted us to play was, my role in the team was, get it wide, get the balls in the box. And if no one was there, then he would tell them to be there. Yeah, that was the thing. But I think he gets a lot of stick for his style of play, I suppose. But the results speak for their own. I think wherever he's been, the results were there. We finished 10th in our first season back in the Premier League, which was an incredible stat. And then I think it was 10th, 12th, 13th, 12th, or 10th. It was just, I mean, that's amazing. I mean, lots of clubs would be wanting that right now.
Right. Oh, 100%. His personality certainly reflects his style, big, direct, very old fashioned. How was he seems like a very good player manager in his relationships with the players.
Yeah, I think, he does have that. Like, I think it's one of them sort of, if the team's doing well, so if the team's won on a Saturday, it would be same team, same subs. It was quite sort of stick to that, which was great if you were in the team. But if you weren't, it was difficult because it didn't really matter what you were doing during the week. You could be the best player by far and nothing would change. But on the flip side, if you were playing and you sort of in that game you had a few knocks and bruises, it didn't matter because he would be like, no, you've done well, you've been in your team, you're doing well. Don't worry about it. Just get yourself right for the weekend, and you could sort of get yourself back to normal and be ready for the game. But it was, like I said, if you're in the team, you're buzzing.
Right. You said earlier, and I had this written down, that you attempted the most crosses and completed. You attempted 171 crosses in the Premier League in 2012, 2013, and you were successful with 42 of them, which was also the highest. I mean, you and Andy Carroll must have formed such a good relationship.
It was like the dream team. I think that's what I remember when Big Sam said when he signed me. He was like, you've got the most crosses in Europe and successful in Europe last season. I've just signed you someone that had the most successful headers in Europe or the league last season. So here we go. And I was like, amazing. So in theory, it was a massive combo.
Big Sam knew what he wanted.
He certainly did. Yeah, it was great. He was, I don't think if you've ever met him, I think you don't realize how big he is. He's huge. He's such a big guy. And he's very intelligent, very knowledgeable on football. He knows exactly what he wants and how it happens. He's so focused on different bits of, the POMO, he used to call it, where point of, I can't remember what it was called now, but you was where you had to be. That was where the position of most opportunity, or whatever it was, optimal opportunity. It was just like you had to be. If I was crossing, it was either you had to be at the front post or the back post or penalty spot. He had like everything, and statistic wise, you'd scored most goals from the POMO, which was the far post. So you had to be there, and it was just, he would show clips and everything, could break everything down in seasons. Our first season we wanted to finish 10th, so for the past 8 seasons you had to get this many wins, this many goals, you concede this many. It would break everything down to the finer detail, and it was a really big eye opener, I'd say.
Wow, that's that's really cool. I didn't know that. And I feel like a lot of people just say, "Oh, he's just a big guy and he wins headers," but it's very, he works on that. It's not just something that happens. It's like it's well drilled, and it's how you guys played.
Yeah. I mean, he was sort of, I'd used psychologists before, but he was one, like, he was a big, when you signed, you sat with a psychologist, you worked it all out. And he had like a traffic light sort of signal, I suppose. Red were like for the fiery, angry sort of people, and how you would deal with them in different, whether that was used, I don't know. But, it was another string to his bow, I suppose, of trying to work out how people's personalities and trying to get the best out of them.
And were you disappointed at all when West Ham didn't want to renew Big Sam's contract at the end of the 2015-16 season, because you were such a key player in what he wanted to do?
I think like when it always comes to an end, I think you you look at it, and I think the club, the fans, I don't think they ever had like a really massive relationship with him, just purely and simply for the style of play, and they all wanted to have some, the entertaining,
Right.
nice, pretty football, and that wasn't Big Sam. So unfortunately, that was always going to come to an end. Um, but for me, in the season before his last season, he sort of changed his formation and the way he played as well, and didn't play with wide men, so it sort of affected my position in the team as well, and I didn't play as much football as I wanted to that last season.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that was sort of the reasons why I then went on loan to Norwich, even though Slaven Bilic, who come in, was a fantastic manager, and I'd played in all of the Europa League qualifying stages that pre-season, and I'd played in every Premier League game, coming off the bench for the last
Mm-hmm.
half an hour, 25 minutes, up until like deadline day when I went on loan to Norwich. But just purely simply for me, I'd done a season where I didn't play as much as I wanted, and I can't do it. I like to be playing. I want to
Right.
be. I don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. I deserve to be whatever. It was when you're not in the team and you're training a week and you're not being able to do your job. I suppose it's hard to keep going, and I didn't feel I wanted to waste another season of maybe getting on for the last half an hour of each game. I wanted to go and play some games, and that's Slaven spoke to me and said he didn't want me to leave, but he couldn't guarantee that I'd play every game. So
Right.
it was my sort of decision to go and play.
Mm-hmm. And that's the game has just obviously evolved a lot, and so many teams and fans, they want their team to play this pretty tiki taka, ping it around. But you look at guys, Big Sam, Tony Pulis, who are a little bit more old fashioned, and what they could do for teams. And now Sean Dyche with Burnley plays like that, and look where they are. They're they were about to qualify for the Europa League. So it kind of surprises me a bit that Big Sam or Tony Pulis don't have jobs right now. I mean, you look at Norwich, who are so consumed with playing good football, and they do play good football, but results is what matters at the end of the day, and they just have been relegated. So I don't know why, but I feel like Big Sam and Tony Pulis, guys like that, they deserve to be coaching in the Premier League right now.
Yes, it's difficult. Pep Guardiola's come over and completely changed everything about football.
Yep.
I mean, and his team is phenomenal. So why would you not?
Yeah.
But it's difficult. As I said, it's a results business in the Premier League, and unfortunately for Norwich, they do play amazing football, the right philosophy, everything. But it's about staying in the Premier League, and unfortunately, they just didn't have enough.
Mm-hmm. Who do you think the other two teams will be that will get relegated?
Well, before this weekend, I thought you would say it'd be Aston Villa and Bournemouth, but
I know, right?
they both had incredible results. So I think it's very, very difficult to say. Very difficult.
It's going to be like that final day in 2010.
Yeah, it certainly will. I think it will be right down to the wire.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and then, like you said, you went out on loan to Norwich after Slaven Bilic came in. I mean, it seemed like you enjoyed that first season with Norwich. I mean, you made 21 appearances before a devastating knee injury, which we'll hit on. How did you like playing for Norwich?
Brilliant. I started so well. It was sort of like a new lease of life. It was, amazing to get out there. I think you can see from the celebration of my debut at Norwich, it was just pure elation and emotion that would come out. It was brilliant, and I was playing some of the best football I've played in a long, long time, and just unfortunate that I decided to try and tackle Yaya Toure, and it was never a good idea.
So that's how the knee injury happened.
Yeah, I tried. It was sort of like a block tackle with Yaya Toure, and he sort of broke me really. I did my grade 2 deep fibre MCL, and it was a nightmare.
Oh dear, yeah, he's a large human being. um, and was after that injury, did you not play any more games for Norwich?
No, I did that, rehabbed it, got myself back fit, but it was never sort of right. And then I played the rest of the season, and then in the pre-season I had to have the surgery, which then took me out for about 3.5 months. My first training session back, I was cut inside and shot and got smashed in my ankle. Then that was a disaster.
Mm.
And then I had to have surgery again for that, and they thought it was going to be sort of like 4 weeks, and it turned to 8 months because my cartilage just fell off, and I had to have a microfracture, and then I picked up IT band friction syndrome coming back from both the surgeries because of my mechanics had changed, and I had to build up the muscles, and then it lost again, and then I build it up, and then so it took me a while to get myself back fit, but it was a very difficult period. And unfortunately, when I sort of got myself back fully fit, obviously Norwich were absolutely flying in the Championship, and
Mm-hmm.
it was a point where I needed to go and play some football and to sort of have a career really, because otherwise you're a long time retired and people
Right.
forget about you. So for me, I needed to go and play, and just for me personally, I wanted to, because I love playing football, and there's nothing better than being out on the pitch, and I've worked too hard to not be.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry that happened to you, because I know how well you were doing, but and that just goes to show that how one injury it can just stack. And your entire career, I feel like you were so consistent in the amount of games you played. Like you were so healthy, and then after that one injury, the injuries start building. I mean, it's just a prime example of that.
Yeah, so frustrating. I mean, the last few years have been an absolute nightmare, but it is like that. I was so consistent from 17 years old till 30, really. But it is what it is, and I've had to deal with it and get over it. And
Mm-hmm.
good thing it's definitely made me a better, stronger person. I'd say
Right.
for sure.
Right. And now, can you talk to me a little bit about so you went on loan with Walsall, and then what it's like now playing for Woking? I saw you just signed a contract extension with them.
Yeah, so obviously my contract with Norwich finished, and I was obviously just sort of wanting to. I moved back home. My wife and I have just had another baby, so we've got 2 kids now, and it was like I didn't really want to move anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I've been away from home for the last 3 and a bit years, so so I had a few things that were lined up and I was going to sign, and they all fell through. And Martin Tyler, who I'm sure you know as the Sky Sports
Mm-hmm.
commentator, he called me up, and I'd been doing quite a bit of media work, and I answered, and he was like, "Oh, hi, it's Martin Tyler," and I was like, "Yeah, know know the voice,"
I can hear it.
and I was thinking, "Oh, what's he want me to do at Sky?" And then he was like, "Oh, I don't know if you know, but I'm the assistant manager at Woking." I was like, "What?"
What?
Yeah. And he was like, "Look, I know you've got much bigger clubs and that, but you're local. You grew up around the area. We'd love for you to come down and be a part of it." And so I went down, and then I signed up for a sort of like a, what's it called, non-contract, just sort of to play really.
Mm-hmm.
And I played my first game. I came on the last 30 minutes, scored and got an assist, and we won 2-0. And then the second game, I'd just come from the hospital because my wife just had the baby, and played the last 25 minutes and got another assist. And then COVID happened, so that was my season done.
Yeah, like in COVID, I mean, I don't even know where to start with that, but
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
we won't go into that.
Yeah, I know. I'm tired of it.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
but no, but it was nice because I wanted to carry on playing. I've only just turned 34. I feel like because of the last few years that I haven't played as much, I've still got it in the legs, and it's a great club. It's local to me. They're great people. It could really be something great, and I'm really looking forward to getting back and playing football again.
do you know, have they told you when you guys are going to be playing again? Do you have any idea?
No, there's rumours going around everywhere, but they think that the Premier League's going to come back in September, so they're hoping that everywhere else is going to do the same. So at the moment, that's the sort of plan as such, but we will see.
Mm-hmm. And just to kind of finish things off, I wanted to ask you just a few quick fire questions. The first one is, who is the best player that you've played with and against?
Okay, am I allowed to include England with that, or is that a bit too much? Because I didn't really play with them. I'll tell you what, I won't.
Okay.
I think the best player, it's difficult. I think Payet was up there. Brilliant
Mm-hmm.
player. What he did that season at West Ham was incredible. So I'd probably go him. I mean, there's so many, like Wes Hoolahan at Norwich was a ridiculous magician.
Really?
He was class. But I think, Payet is probably
Yep.
the one.
And what about against?
Against, difficult. What can you say? I played against them all. Ashley Cole. You can go through all different types. Ashley Cole. Then you had like Kyle Walker coming through, players like that. I'll tell you who was very difficult, who's still playing now, is Phil Bardsley.
Really?
Very tough player to play against. Yeah.
Just very old school, brute,
Yeah.
strong. God. He's been playing for, I mean, how old is he now?
Yeah, I think he must be older than me.
Yeah, I think he is.
Must be. Yeah. Still in good nick. Still
Right.
playing in the Premier League.
And I think, you said Kyle Walker. I think he is the best fullback on the planet, let alone England. I think, Trent Alexander-Arnold obviously is a fantastic player in the way that he can get forward. But in terms of defending, Kyle Walker, I think, is the best. You don't look like you agree.
Oh, I don't know.
His athleticism and pace.
I think yes, his athleticism and pace is absolutely incredible, and that's what gets him out of a lot of
Right.
when especially being at Man City, his license to get forward is incredible, and he does that amazing, and then he can get back because of his pace. But I don't know, as defending goes, I think you can't really go anywhere wrong than Wan-Bissaka at the minute. No one gets past him as a defender.
He's got those long
maybe
legs.
Kyle Walker going forward and then Wan-Bissaka going back.
Right. Who do you think should start at right back for England?
God, why are you giving me this? That's just difficult. I think it depends who your opponents, because at the moment, if you're going to be dominating a game against someone, you probably want Trent because his delivery is incredible. But if you're going to be, it's a tough game, and I don't know, it's very difficult. You've got them three there that are fantastic players.
Mm-hmm. And, if Gareth Southgate continues to play with the five in the back, the three center backs with Kyle Walker as one of the center backs, then I would go with Alexander-Arnold as well.
Yeah.
And your favorite manager, Mick McCarthy?
Yeah, for me, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I still speak to him now.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah.
What is he up to now?
Well, he's just finished at Ireland, but what a man, what a manager, brilliant.
Mm-hmm. And who was the manager? Was Fabio Capello at England when he called? Okay,
yeah.
And how was he to work with?
Well, I mean, just he's got such pedigree, I suppose, and it's just incredible to get called up by him. I suppose it was a big compliment, but he was different to anything else I've experienced. Completely, everything was strict. Players weren't allowed to go into the dining room until everyone was there. You weren't allowed to leave till everyone had finished. Just certain things that he had in principles that were pretty cool.
Favorite memory as a footballer?
Playing for England.
Yeah, gotta be.
Can't beat it.
And who is your all-time favorite player and your favorite player now?
Growing up, I had two players. Mine were Gary Lineker and Ryan Giggs.
Mm-hmm.
And I was fortunate enough to play against Giggs quite a few times, so that was pretty cool. Favorite player now? A difficult one. I think De Bruyne.
Yep.
I think.
Right.
I mean, there's so many good players out there at the minute, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, you can't really go wrong with him. And then you've got Messi and Ronaldo, and I mean, just incredible. But just, yeah, I think in the Premier League, if I said Premier League, I think you've got De Bruyne, but you can't be too far behind Fernandez at the minute. And then you just got loads of players. This is just why it's such the best league in the world.
Mm-hmm. And just one last thing. Now that Man City, their ban has been lifted, which I figured would happen, who do you think the final two teams will be that finish in the top four? It's tight at the top, tight at the bottom.
Yeah, if you're going to put me on spot, I'd say Chelsea and Man United.
Yeah, I think so too. Just considering how poor Leicester have been since the restart.
I know. I mean, they've got a fantastic squad, so they'll get back to it. But momentum is key, and United are flying at the moment. They've got a game tonight, but at the moment, if you're looking at it, yeah, them two teams, Chelsea, Man United.
Mm-hmm. And you think Vardy will win the Golden Boot?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I still think he's. I can't see too many, unless someone has an amazing finish to the season. I still think he's put himself in such a good position that he's still going to score goals now to the end of the season.
Right. Well, Matt, that's everything I had for you. I thank you so much for coming on the show and doing this. You were someone that I looked up to. Like I said, I'm a shorter guy, and I also played on the wings, so I really adored you as a fan. So this was such an incredible experience for me. I appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. And I hope you and your family stay healthy during these weird times.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
All right, Matt. Have a good one.
All right. Cheers. Bye-bye.